11Alive News starts now.
We are following some breaking news here at 10 a.m. live from the 11Alive streaming center right here with you on 11Alive Plus. Just within the last 5 minutes, we are getting word about a Mexican national who has died while in ICE custody in Clayton County, Georgia. We're reading through a news release that was first issued in Spanish. We've just been able to translate it, and within the last couple minutes, we are getting this information. This gentleman died at the Robert A. Dighton Detention Facility. It is a migrant processing center located in Lovejoy, Georgia. My producer, Gabby Nunez, is helping me read through this release. And Gabby, at first glance, it looks like, do we have a cause of death here? Have they said?
Hi, everyone. So it doesn't look like there's a cause of death yet, but it is Mexico investigating why this death happened. So the unfortunate reality is that there has been obviously an increase in immigration detention in Georgia. And this particular detention center is not really talked about. We normally hear about the one in South Georgia and Stewart because it's larger. So this is a smaller detention center. Why this person may have been detained, we do not know. But in Georgia, 11Alive News actually did an investigative series, realizing that low criminal offenses were enough to hold at least a couple hundred people. There are right now a lot of organizations that are associated with 287G, which is the collaboration with with federal immigration officials. And off the top of my head, I don't believe any of the Clayton County organizations are part of it. So we do know that it must have most likely been immigration federal officials, agents, who likely detained this person. This release came from the Mexican consulate here in Georgia, which is actually not far from our station. So we probably could get more answers later on today. I do want to point out there's already been about 4 or 5 deaths, according to ICE data. This year alone, we're only 2 weeks into 2026. This may be the first one that we're hearing now here in Georgia. Last year, in 2025, there were about 30 deaths in the state. So we're learning a lot. This one alone, the fact that the consulate is demanding answers, which the consulate has largely been cooperative when it came to any criminal offenders in any immigration detention facilities. Dan, I don't know what to tell you. Just reading it off the top of my head, it sounds like the consulate is trying to kind of walk a fine line while asking for accountability. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we know more later today. I for sure know that we're going to be asking questions all day.
But you're saying of the 30 or so in custody deaths that we know about last year and the other few that we've already seen this year, we don't always get a release from a consulate like we have this morning.
No, this is actually kind of a unique scenario. And in Georgia, we have had a few deaths. Some people have died by suicide. Others, there are lawsuits right now happening here in Georgia for maltreatment in ICE detention facilities. A lot of them concern the Stewart Detention Center. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to dig a little deeper to see if this one in particular has any lawsuits against them as well, because again, it is smaller. Yeah. But the fact that we don't have any sort of information, normally ICE does release some sort of either a press release or an alert notifying people of a death. They are tracking deaths in detention, but we're getting it from a consulate. We're hearing it from them first. And It does seem like this death is already recorded in the database. So hopefully it looks like they're investigating what happened. We don't know what happened to this person individually. Mm-hmm. Once we get a name, I'm sure we'll learn more.
Again, it happened 2 days ago. Gabby, thank you for helping us unpack that. Again, all this happening within the last 5-10 minutes. She's done a lot of work with our Investigates team on this very issue. That's the release that we've been referring to, that one in Spanish. We just helped you translate it and make sense of it in English. And again, we'll be following that throughout the next hour here on 11Alive Plus. Also, want to talk about the weather as we are heading into what is sure to be a long weekend for a lot of you, and it's going to be a cold one. Meteorologist Chesley McNeil joining me here in the streaming center. Chesley, I guess the big headline this morning is just the cold.
Cold. And we started out in the teens this morning. I know a lot of people were looking at the map thinking, okay, do you mean like a wind chill temperature? No. The actual temperature, we were down to 11 up in Blairsville. Finally starting to see, as the sun has risen, those temperatures going up a little bit. Now we're looking at those temperatures in the 20s and 30s out there. 33 degrees right now in Atlanta, so just above the freezing mark. We just went above the freezing mark. So those temperatures will be climbing as we head into the afternoon. We're expecting to see those temperatures into the 50s this afternoon, closer to where we should be for this time of year. I'm going to say that's cool. Not cold, but on the cool side. So if you wear your coat, you can just unzip it or unbutton it as you walk around, right? Take your shades as well. We'll have plenty of sunshine around. High pressure down to the south and east of us now, bringing in a southerly southerly flow. That's also going to help to boost that temperature up just a little bit. Look back off to the west. That's a cold front making its way down toward us. Doesn't look like much now, but with the moisture that comes off the Gulf, it will add some showers. Wet, not frozen, but wet. That's what's going to be coming our way as we head into Saturday morning. Now, when I say Saturday morning, I mean the wee hours of the morning. A lot of us, those of us who can sleep in, will get a chance to let the rain pass by before we go outside. Again, we'll give it a 30% chance, down to a 20% chance on Sunday. Now, I'm holding that because earlier in the week we were looking at the possibility for some frozen precipitation to come our way on Sunday morning. Now, take a look at it. Here's our model. This is our in-house model. You're looking at that southerly push for today. Those winds get a little bit stronger, up to about maybe 10 miles per hour or less for this afternoon. There you have it, that rain coming in overnight. So on Saturday morning, this is by 4 o'clock in the morning, light showers. You may get a moderate pocket or two. You look up to the far north, see that pink in there. You may get a little snow mixing in the higher elevations of the North Georgia mountains, not showing a whole lot, but it will be there. But look how quickly it moves out. By the time we get to 8 o'clock, all that moisture is gone. We start to clear out. We'll get the sunshine back in here for Saturday, early afternoon, late. Here comes that next system. So it's going to spread clouds over our way. But if you look down here to the south, look at that. Wow. Snow mixing in because of the cold air that has pushed all the way down to the south. Now, this is our in-house model. It shows that snow well south of even Macon, but extends over into our far southeastern counties. So even along the coast, you rarely see this, but some snow, wet snow could be there. That begins to push out, and then we'll get that cold air for us on Monday as well. Now, we look at a couple different models. I just want to show you two, and they're coming together now. So the European model shows that snow well south of even Macon. You look at the American model, brings it up a little bit closer to our area, some of our southernmost counties, maybe a little bit of a mix before it gets out of the way. Certainly possible, but not likely. And I think it will stay away. So looking at the models now, most of our area stays out of the mix or even snow. We don't have to worry about it unless something drastically changes, like that area of low pressure slides a little further to the north. So I'm going to say, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
39 degrees for the high temperature on Sunday. It will be a cold day for us. Even on MLK Day, you got a 26-degree start. A lot of folks hit those parades during the afternoon. Temperature will be right around 47 degrees. That's still on the cool side, cool enough for you to wear a heavy jacket or a light coat. Shades if you want to style it like that. Back down to 40 by Tuesday, and then by Wednesday, Thursday, and certainly toward the end of the week, we'll see those temperatures begin to mild back up again. So the roller coaster ride, and we've been talking about this since the holiday, it continues in our area. One of these days, until we get to March or so, that cold air and that precipitation could meet up.
Yep.
And that could mean some wintry precipitation for us.
If it's going to be this cold, you might as well throw some snowflakes in there, right?
Not this time around.
No,
Not this We'll look ahead for it.
All right, Chesley,
You
thanks
got
so
it.
much. He was talking about MLK Day. That's coming up Monday and actually happening right now. There is a celebration of service honoring Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You're looking live right now at the Georgia State Capitol. State Rep Billy Mitchell from Stone Mountain just got up there to speak. He actually chairs the Georgia Martin Luther King Jr. Advisory Council. And the keynote speaker there today is John Hope Bryant. He is a prominent financial literacy entrepreneur and businessman. Let's listen in right now for just a couple minutes.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Give them a hand.
We were happy to bring you that beautiful rendition of the national anthem at the celebration of service honoring Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. there at the Georgia State Capitol. You know, also yesterday at the Georgia State Capitol, we brought you Governor Brian Kemp's final State of the State address. We brought it to you here live on the air. From our streaming center yesterday morning here on 11Alive Plus. And, you know, the governor touted a lot of the work they've done prosecuting crime. And he has his task force, the Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit. They have secured more than 70 convictions since 2019, led or assisted over 330 cases here in Georgia. And they say they've rescued and assisted more than 200 children. If you don't think human trafficking is an issue in Georgia, you just haven't been looking closely enough. Our Grace King has been looking into it. She is here with us in the studio this morning. Grace, it's a big issue, and I'm glad we're talking about it leading up to the World Cup, because with these big events, you never know how widespread it can become.
Well, absolutely. Everyone I talked to said human trafficking is really a global issue. So when you talk about people coming here from all over the globe, it's something they're just going to increase their awareness about, and they want the public to kind of participate in that too. When you have all these problems kind of all over the world and you bring that here, of course, there's a lot of good, but there could also be that bad.
So are they worried about Georgians being trafficked or trafficking coming in from elsewhere?
Both. They say it happens here. They say it happens all over the globe. It's kind of like the opioid epidemic. There's hotspots for it, but that it doesn't exclude any specific places. We obviously have the world's busiest airport. We have a lot of major highways that come through here, and it's just, you know, a big international destination for a lot of people. Maybe not to stop here, but at least to come through.
How prepared is Atlanta for this moment? How are folks feeling?
Well, they say they do the same things they do every year, but they're going to step up awareness in the months leading up to the FIFA World Cup. You can expect to see several citywide trainings over the next couple of months with, you know, some of the key stakeholders, people at the airport, people in hotels, fans, whoever needs to or wants to learn the signs to look for, just to kind of continue that process and make sure they're absolutely prepared for it. We'll have those dates from the mayor's office hopefully soon, but just kind of looking ahead to kind of ramp up those awareness efforts.
Yeah, looking forward to that. In your reporting, did folks give you any idea of what kind of warning signs we should be looking for in the interim, what to watch out for?
It really depends. They're going to put out some trainings to kind of help identify, but it could be anything as simple as intimidation tactics, maybe just standoffish. There's certain things with like your ear that or signs in the bar that just, you know, you should be aware of. But that's, again, they want to reach out to hotels, bars, different places to kind of make sure the people in those situations are aware and also know how to help without creating a scene.
You know, Atlanta's no stranger to hosting big events. We've had the Super Bowl before, but this is a worldwide event. Is that really, you think, why they're centering so much on this topic right now?
I think they just said they've seen a huge increase in human trafficking with the digital age. A lot of it's happening online, which is harder to kind of see and spot. So they're ramping up their efforts regardless of what's happening. But the FIFA World Cup, obviously, with that global audience and that global issue, they just want to make sure everything's squared away.
Anything else I'm missing that you found out in your reporting that you think we should be passing along?
They said to look up the Blue campaign. That's one of the big things they've been pushing. This is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Human trafficking is awareness, though, is a year-round goal for them, and they're obviously going to continue ramping that up into the summer. Also, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is a good place to look and just kind of get some information there, look out for who could be missing, and see if you're able to help.
All right, Grace, important topic, and one we'll be talking about a lot more the next, 5 months leading up to the big games.
It's almost here.
All right, Grace, thank you. Have a nice weekend. Great to have her on the show. Hey, we want to get back to that MLK event because Governor Brian Kemp is speaking. Let's listen in.
Introduction, Marty and I are honored to be with you all this morning to help recognize one of Georgia's greatest sons, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I remember that inauguration well. I didn't have any trouble getting up the next morning because we didn't have much time to celebrate and party that night, because if you remember, we had a bad tornado that I was dealing with during the celebration. But that's what comes with the territory, and the First Lady and I, the greatest First Lady in the country, and I are honored to be serving as your 83rd governor and first family. Also, like others have said, just want to recognize the King family and all that they do to continue to safeguard his legacy, but also to keep his memory alive and well in our hearts. I also want to thank those who make this yearly ceremony possible. I remember attending this event many times when I was a member of the General Assembly back in the early 2000s, and then as I served as the Secretary of State for almost 9 years. And that is the team with Commissioner Nunn at the Department of Community Affairs. I want to thank you and the team for keeping this tradition alive and doing a great job organizing today's celebration and remembrance. Also want to acknowledge all those members of the General Assembly that I see standing around and sitting in the audience. If you would just please raise your hand and wave and let us thank you for taking the time to be here. Thank you. There are also many community leaders and others that are here to make a point of recognizing Dr. King's enduring impact on our society. I also want to thank the Atlanta Boy Choir, the Georgia State Patrol Color Guard, and everyone else who plays a part in making this ceremony so special. I also want to thank Representative Billy Mitchell for his leadership. My friend and the Honorable Andy Young, just a great Georgian and a great American. John Hope Bryant, who I've gotten to know over the last several years, and I know you'll get to hear from them later when they arrive, but it is an honor to have Ambassador Young back at the Capitol and John Hope Bryant as well. Dr. Carter, thank you for your prayers. I especially thank you for praying for Marty and the girls and I in our state. It means a lot to us. I know you'll hear from Senator Nikki Merritt as well. I want to acknowledge her and then also congratulate all the award winners. As many of you know, this year is the 250th anniversary of our nation's founding, giving us a chance to reflect on where we began, how far we've come, and the men and women who have shaped that history and its moral arc. It goes without saying that one of the towering figures of America's rich history is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because he did as much, if not more, than anyone to ensure we work toward fulfilling those founding principles that inspired the very birth of the United States: liberty, truth, and justice for all. He spent much of his childhood just down the street from where we're sitting this morning, and his likeness is found in multiple places on the state capitol grounds. His life and legacy went far beyond the city, our state, and even our nation. That impact was driven by this simple truth that Dr. King both preached about and embodied. We can do more together than we can alone. That we are stronger when we act with a shared purpose, and that our differences pale in comparison to what unites us. That message was heard around the world, and it continues to inspire people who are oceans and continents away from the sweet Auburn neighborhood where he was born and spent much of his childhood. But it was Dr. King's commitment to nonviolence that also set him apart as a leader, not just for the civil rights movement, but also for humanitarian efforts around the globe. He knew that hate cannot drive out hate, that only love could make that change, and he lived out that truth every single day. As we look around or turn on the news today, we are struck by how divided our own society can feel. In the face of that reality, Dr. King's words and example remind us to look for ways to come together and to focus on our shared values. If you ask me, we live in the best state in the country to live, work, and raise a family. And we are fortunate to have leaders who can put aside differences and work together to ensure opportunity, safety, and health for all Georgians. After 7 years after we took office, I believe these results speak for themselves. 219,700 new jobs, $118 billion in investment worked by our state economic development team, roughly $9.7 billion returned to the taxpayers, and the #1 state for business for now 12 years in a row. And as the state with the second highest percentage of black-owned businesses, far higher than the next closest state, these are meaningful results for communities statewide. And with a lower rate of black and minority unemployment than the national average, we know our ongoing efforts to grow opportunity for all Georgians is bearing good fruit. You may remember at the beginning of my first term in the event that Commissioner Nunn mentioned at this ceremony all those years ago, it was expressed by some that an outcome like this would not be possible. That was a pretty rough day for myself and my family, for those of you that were here. And there were people that didn't think, as I mentioned, that outcome would be possible. That our vision for delivering for a state where everyone has a chance to succeed no matter their zip code would somehow result only in success for a few. But in this final year, I'm proud of the fact that we didn't let doubt or criticism stand in the way to delivering for all Georgians, whether they voted for me or not. Because in the words of Dr. King, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort or convenience, but where he stands at a time of challenge or controversy. And know this, despite criticisms and attacks, my family and I never stopped standing with all of you in pursuit of a brighter and more prosperous future. In closing, I want to encourage each of you to remember this long weekend and every day the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and encourage you to follow his example in our daily lives. As we begin a new year, I hope we will all remain focused on loving our neighbors and fighting hate in all forms. At this time, it is my honor to present a proclamation officially declaring Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the great state of Georgia.
Some news there from Governor Brian Kemp. Monday officially declared Martin Luther King Jr. Day here in Georgia, fitting on his own holiday coming up here on Monday. The governor there speaking at an annual ceremony at the state capitol in a celebration of service for the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And just in time for MLK Day, there is a powerful new traveling exhibit. It's opening this weekend at the Children's Museum of Atlanta. It is called Aim High, Soaring with the Tuskegee Airmen. Karen Kelly, the museum's director of exhibits and education, is here with me now. Karen, good morning to you, and congratulations on the launch of this new exhibit.
Thank you. We are very, very excited about the exhibit.
I mean, the timing.
And I am personally very excited about the exhibit because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so tell me all about it. I mean, the timing could not be more perfect. I'm sure it was intentional, but what can folks expect if they come down there this weekend?
So what you can expect when you come down this weekend is a really wonderful layered experience. You can fly a plane. You can learn some of the piloting skills. The children can play and learn some piloting skills. They can have fun learning and building their rockets, and launching them so they can practice aiming, and also their science skills. This exhibit is a fun layering of great activities that are just fun to do, as well as learning certain science and STEM skills. Like when you aim a rocket, you're doing engineering, even though you don't even know that. And you can design and redesign your paper airplanes and see how far they can go. On top of that, there is a wonderful history component to this as well about the Tuskegee Airmen. I am personally excited about this because the Tuskegee Airmen is such a great story of amazing heroes from World War II. And it's also a story that's very much personal to Atlanta. The Tuskegee Airmen flew in World War II. Later on, the pilots became pilots for Delta Airlines and flew for Delta. So it's both a national story and an Atlanta story. So it's very exciting to have that and be able to offer that to guests. Some of the fun things for adults in the exhibit is, as you're looking at the exhibits about the Tuskegee Airmen, there are actual artifacts. So you will be seeing a sewing kit that the pilots took with them as they flew to mend and repair their uniforms, or possibly even their parachutes, as well as a manual for one of the airplanes. So it also shows how those pilots and what they did inspired future generations to become astronauts and airplane designers, and just moving us forward. Actually, to follow up on what Governor Kemp said, helping raise everybody up. So it is exciting and fun, and I hope you will have a chance to come down. If you've got a child, bring them on down.
I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. We are always looking for something to do on the weekends, so we'll check it out. How long is this exhibit going to be around?
This exhibit is up through the mid-May. So you'll have plenty of chances to see it, and all the other really fun things for your 1 and 3-year-olds to do in the museum. This is all about learning through play. People don't understand so much that kids actually, when they are playing, they are learning things. They're learning science. They're learning art. They're also learning to play well with others and collaborate. So it is a lot of fun, but there's also learning behind it. We also have public programs. So this weekend, MLK weekend, I also want to shout out that we will be having an actor do the MLK speech for the children visiting the museum.
Very good.
So a kind of a nice space for the kids to come who maybe don't have quite the attention span to stand for a parade, but if parents want to have them come hear the speech in a child-friendly space.
Hey, Karen, finally, the Tuskegee Airmen, they broke barriers in aviation and in American history. What kind of conversations do you hope this sparks, beyond just the museum, but when kids head home? I mean, it can really carry over to the dinner table, too.
It really can. I think the conversations I hope they will have is about how, if you're persistent and you keep trying, you get there. This took a long time for the airmen to be even allowed to be pilots. I think that some of those conversations about how, if you really care about something and you keep trying, you can make it happen. Also that, I'm sorry, that's a really good question. So I'm having to pause and think about it. And I know you don't have a lot of our time. I think also just about the excitement of it, and the fun of it, and the learning as well. Just having conversations about what it felt like to pretend to be a pilot. That kind of role play is really important to kids and helps them understand things.
I appreciate your thoughtfulness, Karen, and I think this exhibit, if you go down there and see it for yourself, is going to open up the opportunity for thoughtfulness and conversation for families across Atlanta. So go check it out. You said this weekend until mid-May. What's your website for folks who need more information?
childrensmuseumatlanta.org.
All right, very good. Congratulations again on the exhibit, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Karen Kelly from Children's Museum of Atlanta. Hey, we have been with you for 28 straight minutes on the air, bringing you news as it happens. It's a pleasure to always be with you here on 11Alive Plus, and we got plenty more in store for you. I'll see you in just 2 more minutes. Back here at 10:30 on this Friday, January 16th. Nice to be with you as we head into what's going to be a long weekend for a lot of you. You know, we just had a great conversation with Children's Museum of Atlanta, the Director of Exhibits and Education, talking about this new Tuskegee Airmen exhibit they have. Meteorologist Melissa Nord is here with me now. We're going to talk about the weather, but also how lucky are we to have this in our backyard, this
We
museum?
are. I mean, it's fantastic. I've been on the exhibits and advisory committee for them for a few years now, and they try so hard to find great, unique exhibits to come in throughout the year that are different from their standard stuff. But like, if you have a child between 0 and 5 especially, this is a gold mine. There are so many wonderful things to do at the Children's Museum of Atlanta. They have a brand new revamped grocery store, like a Publix grocery shopping section. You can go to the deli bar, but I love that they have this Tuskegee Airmen exhibit as well. I can't wait to take my kids. This might be the right weekend to do so because it's going to be cold.
I mean, you're going to be looking for something to do indoors because you're not going to be out tossing the football with them. I can guarantee you that.
I mean, it's not that bad Saturday afternoon briefly. We're like 50 degrees, but then, there's a lot of cold coming in. We're all aboard the Arctic Express. This is like a train that just keeps coming in, hitting us with more and more cold air. Let me show you what I'm tracking between now and the end of the weekend. Reinforcing cold coming in on Sunday. So today and tomorrow, we're rebounding a little bit, and we're watching two different opportunities for a little wintry weather in parts of the state. But I will tell you today, if you are a snow lover, the odds are looking lower today for us to see anything in Metro Atlanta or the bulk of North Georgia. If you don't want to be dealing with any of those driving hazards, it's great news today because models are trending a lot further south. Here's the setup. We've got this cold plunge of Arctic air coming in here over the weekend again. And then what's going to happen is moisture is going to work right on top of that cold air. So the question is going to be, where does that moisture line up with that area of low pressure? Is it going to be largely just right against the coast? Is that low going to bring the Gulf moisture all the way up into central Georgia? Is it going to bring us up into North Georgia? Wherever that moisture aligns with the cold, we're going to see a changeover to some of that snow. So models today are trending more south. Yesterday, we had several different pools or thinkings in the models. Some of them had it smack dab on top of I-85. Some of it had it between Atlanta and Macon. Some of it had it just over southeastern Georgia. And today we're seeing a better agreement in these models that what we will see Sunday morning is likely southeast of the inner metro area. So could we still see some of our southeastern counties with a brief changeover Sunday morning? It is possible, but we are still 36 hours away from the start time of this event, and a lot can change between now and then. So we're just starting to get our high resolution models within vantage point. Those are models that we can't see, 5 days out. We can just see 48 hours out or so. And so that's what our graph model is there on the top left, and that's been showing just southeast of our area altogether. The NAM this morning is luckily coming back in, and that kind of Macon to southeastern Georgia area for at least rain, and if it's cold enough to change over to snow. And even the American model, which was pulling things all the way up to Atlanta yesterday, is pulling back a little further south and east. So that's what I want you to really take away today, is that our odds are lowering for snow on Sunday morning. It doesn't mean the odds are zero. It just means that it's looking more and more likely, like it is Macon through Vidalia, Statesboro, that may see that brief changeover. All right, forecast track. You can see today we're all the way up to about 50 degrees. It's actually a decent day. Yesterday we were only in the 30s. Today we're up around 50. I know that's cold, but it's not that cold, so you can get outside and enjoy a little bit of fresh air outside. Front number 1 comes in overnight tonight. That'll bring just rain showers to Metro Atlanta. You see that little bit of pink showing up in the mountains. We've still been watching that potential that there could be a little snow mixing in, but even today's model runs of that snow potential are looking less impressive. That is out of here by 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. We rebound to some sunshine, and then we'll watch system number 2 on Sunday. Look at our snow potential on the model here. It's just not even looking good for the mountains, but I still think we'll at least see some flakes flying in those highest peaks. It will just largely melt when it reaches the ground. Again, it's Sunday morning time frame when we're watching that second system. This model keeps it pretty much all south and east of anywhere in North Georgia, but we will be watching afternoon runs coming in today and runs throughout Saturday, model runs, to give you the latest on what you need to know. Sunshine out there today. It's cold, 33 right now in Atlanta, 31 in Athens, still 25 in Blairsville. Lighter winds than we saw yesterday. That also helped to make it not feel as brutal outside. So low 50s today, watching some rain showers overnight, and Dan's still keeping an eye on that Sunday system. But right now looks like it will largely miss our area altogether as of Friday morning. I say as of because everything can change.
Who knew? You had to drive a little closer to the beach if you wanted to see
I
some
know.
snow this weekend.
We'll see.
All right. Thank you so much, Melissa. Hey, earlier we were bringing you a live feed from that MLK event going on at the state capitol. It's still going on right now, and in fact, the keynote speaker just stepped up to the microphone. That is John Hope Bryant. He's a big financial literacy entrepreneur and businessman. He's the founder, chairman, and CEO of Operation Hope. It's a nonprofit focused on financial literacy, and this event today, a celebration of service honoring Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We heard from the governor a few minutes ago. Now let's hear a little from Mr. John Hope Bryant.
Singapore, $580 billion a year. Absolutely. Built on diversity and inclusion. Everybody having a seat at the table. Expand the table, add a chair. The busiest airport in the world, the only international city in the South, the traditional South. There is no city like Atlanta in the world. Ambassador Andrew Young took that Dr. King theology and brought it down to earth, working with Republicans and Democrats across lines, working at the city, state, and federal level. Now, let me get practical. What people know about Dr. King is obvious. I Have a Dream and all of these things, the Pettus Bridge, all of these stories that interconnect. There's a few things you don't know. You may not know. I don't want to be presumptuous. Dr. King and Governor Kemp, who's become a new friend, Dr. King's family and Governor Kemp's family have a lot in common. Governor Kemp and his family built wealth in rural Georgia, agricultural businesses, etc., and real estate. Dr. King's family, grandfather and father, A.D. Williams, they call Daddy King, built wealth through real estate and business in urban Georgia. Rural and urban, but the bridge was still business and real estate. Both of them had the freedom to go be who they wanted to be. How do you get a PhD in the 1950s as a black man in America unless you've got some economic stability? Am I talking to myself? This is not a dream. This is not some fanciful story. This is the reality of a family that put their heads down and made the dream real. A.D. Williams, Reverend A.D. Williams, and Daddy King owned a lot of that real estate that you see around the King Center today. That's why they were able to put the King Center there. That's why it sustained itself. They were able to send Dr. King to Morehouse at 15 years old to get a PhD, to get a degree in theology in the 50s, in the South. That took economic freedom. That took the ability to have a voice. A.D. Williams was able to have a voice because he had financial freedom. Dr. King is the embodiment of all that. When you look at Kemp's trajectory and many people in the Georgia Assembly, both urban and rural, you see this common thread, the ability to speak your truth because you got some level of freedom. I met you first at a bank. You were a banker. You have been many things. You are many things, including a global statesman, but you couldn't do that unless you had some freedom. We have a country that seems to only agree on what they're against. Everybody wants to be an American but Americans. I'll let you get that later. We're admired all around the world, but we fight here at home. We've got to find a bridge back to each other. It's wonderful that at least once a year we stop petty fights. We stop winning battles and losing wars. We stop stepping over a dollar to pick up a dime. We stop rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. The ship is sinking and we're picking drapes. We stop arguing with each other about stuff that doesn't matter, because whether you're white or black or red or blue, the color's still green. Dr. King knew that the largest group of poverty then and now was white poverty. I don't know if that is obvious to everybody, but he thought that you couldn't solve one problem unless you solved another. And so as he pivoted to the Poor People's Campaign, he had a vision for all of America. He didn't say, I'm here to save black people. He said, I'm here to redeem the soul of America from the triple evils of war, racism, and poverty. We've got to find a bridge back to each other. You've never had a superpower that wasn't the economic power at the same time. It's never happened in the history of the world. The reality is you cannot have that going forward unless we all find a way to rise together. A third of this economy is women. I'll repeat that. Of the third of the GDP, the gross domestic product, the economics of the wealthiest country in the world today are women. Behind every successful man is an exhausted woman. Dr. King has a legacy because of Coretta Scott King, because she didn't give up and she didn't give in, because she put a King Center down on land that they control. No one gets here by themselves. Yes, Dr. King had aides like Andrew Young and others, but he had a vision that was singularly himself and his own, many of which a vision no one really understood. And when he pivoted to the Poor People's Campaign, right before that, he wrote a book, 1967, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. That book could land on the bookshelves today and be as relevant. It's as if you've had a gap of 70 years and time has stood still. And now we have this question once again, chaos or community? Where do we go from here?
You were listening to John Hope Bryant, the keynote speaker at today's celebration of service honoring Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You heard him call out Governor Brian Kemp there, give him props. Sounds like they're old friends. Governor Kemp, by the way, moving on to this, just gave his State of the State yesterday in that very building there at the Georgia State Capitol, kind of laying out his plan for the year, his final year in office as he wraps up 8 years serving as governor of Georgia. The day prior, he also spoke at the Eggs and Issues breakfast for the Chamber of Commerce at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and he also laid out some other ideas there, including, as I welcome Doug Turnbull onto the show today, some issues about infrastructure and making Georgia roads a little better. I mean, he's talking about billions of dollars worth of stuff here.
When it's $2 billion, number one, they should donate $100 million just to getting a better name for than Eggs and Issues. I've never liked the name of that, but no, that's just a joke. But when it's $2 billion, it better be more than a little bit of a traffic improvement, and $1.8 billion of that is going to be dedicated to improving the I-75 corridor in Henry County. Now, just to rewind, almost 10 years ago, they opened the reversible express lanes, those toll lanes called the Peach Pass lanes along I-75. But the key word, reversible, so they only serve one direction at once.
Yes.
And during the holidays, a lot of people get upset because both sides are slow. The one that has the lanes working in its favor looks way better than the other side, and they go, well, you got them pointed the wrong direction. And I've thought from the beginning, and I know we're talking more about facts, in my opinion, I've always thought there should have been, instead of 2 lanes in one direction, you should have 1 stationary lane each way, which to me, I don't think it would cost $1.8 billion to just build a median right down the middle of those lanes and retool the ramps. But he didn't specify what those plans were, except to have dedicated toll express lanes in both directions to I-75. And this is akin to the projects that are already underway along Georgia 400 between Sandy Springs and Cumming, and on the northern half of I-285, which are years down the line, but eventually there's going to be 2 lanes or 1 to 2 lanes in each direction on those. So that's where the $1.8 billion is. The other $200 million is to continue improvements that have already spent about $500 million on along 316, turning intersections into interchanges.
Why Henry County? As soon as we're done with this interview, I'm hitting the road. I'm heading north on 75 for Chattanooga for the weekend. And I'm telling you, in Cobb County, it is always slow for me on this trip. I mean, I'm sure everybody in Atlanta has their own trouble spot where they could say, this spot needs improvements. But has Henry County notoriously been a bad spot?
It is bad for sure. And just to compare the two, so in Cobb County, you usually have more lanes, all right? And there's just more freight traffic on the south side. It hasn't dispersed through Atlanta yet. You've got the Port of Savannah that was dredged to handle more commercial traffic, if you will, which means more freight into Georgia. And I'm not saying this to be funny, but I consider Atlanta like the kidneys of the Southeast. And you collect all this traffic and then kind of filter it out in all these different directions. And a lot of it to come from the coast has to come via I-75. That's why they're rebuilding the I-16 interchange there just north of Macon. I picked a traffic counter spot, where they actually pick data up.
Yeah.
On 75 south of 675, it's seen a 33,000 car increase per day just since 2016. Okay, so in 2016, it had 159,000 average vehicles a day. It's 192,000 in 2024. And it's the 12th worst freight bottleneck in the U.S. where they're measuring the data just off of trucks. So there are other spots in Atlanta that are actually worse than that, but that's why 75 gets the heat. And the grading in the interstate. But the hills, I think for those big trucks to go up in low gear, they can't do it as easily as you do in your Ferrari, man. So.
Yeah, that Ferrari that I was dreaming about just hours ago. When you look at the traffic map and you see all this congestion, and then you start thinking about some of the construction that's going to come along with this, what is that going to do to drivers' misery for what? It could take years to get this stuff done,
It
right?
will. So this is an idea that the governor is having in his last year in office that he also didn't mention in the state of the state, right? He only mentioned in exit issues, okay? To go from idea to plans to moving dirt already takes several years. And then moving dirt to completion is another several years. But what's interesting is this is not the first time this has been mentioned since the advent of those express lanes on 75. We've heard about truck-only lanes anywhere between Macon and McDonough, and that still could happen. It could be that you build reversible or new express lanes above those. So I do think that it's very preliminary right now, and it's easy as you look at the camera here of I-75. In that same area I was looking at south of 675 above Hudson Bridge. A lot of different things could happen, and it's going to take the engineers, not the politicians, to figure that out. That's why there's an engineer, Russell McMurray, in charge of the DOT, and not a politician.
Well, aren't we glad we got Georgia Tech in our backyard where they pump them out?
And Georgia Tech works closely with the state, too, on a lot of this stuff. The other part of the project that was interesting to me was him talking about 316 and about $200 million. So I looked at the traffic volume counters on several different spots between Atlanta and Athens, and they were almost flat from the years they were measuring, which were several years ago through 2024. Okay. All right. So it didn't have that sharp increase like we saw on 75. But if you drive 316, there are two things. Number one, there's a lot of stuff being built, especially through Barrow County, where Winder and Bethlehem are.
A lot of apartments going up.
Right. Apartments, businesses, data centers, all that kind of. Or I say
point.
Data centers, warehouses, really what I mean. So the volume doesn't scream for it. But the reason that they're rebuilding a lot of these intersections, they're turning them into exits, like interstate exits, interchanges. And what the deal is with those is you have freeway speeds on 316 going 65, 70, sometimes a lot more miles per hour. And then you come up to a red light, and that difference in speed causes a lot of bad crashes. So by turning them into interstate exits, which is very expensive, and I mean interchanges where you have exit entrance ramps and then overpasses, they've already done about $500 million worth of that. They've redone Highway 20, Collins Hill, Sugarloaf Parkway, I think Harbins Road, if I'm not mistaken. And they're continuing to do that between Atlanta and Athens. So I think that's just going to continue something already underway.
And that could be a game changer for game days in Athens, right? I mean, that's really when that traffic picks up, I would imagine.
All like 6 games a year. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not just around that. I think it's as much a safety thing as it is a traffic volume thing.
Yeah.
Now, here's one thing. And there was also, I think, about $500 million or so. There was a 9-figure number that was mentioned for local infrastructure, bridges, and road repairs. Not one mention of public transportation in any of that. All right, so $2 billion plus, and as far as I know, Dan, not a mention of it.
Looks like $100 million to strengthen and improve bridges.
Excuse me, yes.
$250 million in funding for local road projects. So yeah, you combine those two, you're approaching half a billion there.
Gotcha, yeah.
But you're saying, I mean, no talk here about improving MARTA. I mean, is that going to be more of city funding at that point, or should we expect more from the state when it comes to getting our public transit improved?
Well, and that's a great question. There is a regional network that involves more than the city of Atlanta called the ATL that MARTA falls under. And so the different busing systems in the different counties fall under the ATL, and they're trying to create a more regional transit hub, if you will. The people that are really against build another lane and they will come, there's a big theory. So Brian Kemp said, I think the number was he was hoping to move 70% more traffic through Henry County during rush hour. Okay?
Yep.
That's not necessarily a good thing. If the more you build, the more they will come, right? So it is sort of a which comes first, chicken or the egg kind of thing. You do need more capacity, but at the same point, if you make it easier to travel, more people are going to stay in their cars and not think of another way. Like, would they ever build a train that went Atlanta to Macon or something like that? Not that would help you on a vacation to Florida, but that's it's sort of hard to know where to begin with that stuff.
I mean, I grew up in Chattanooga, there was always talk of, are we going to get a train from Nashville to Chattanooga to Atlanta, maybe even connecting Memphis? I mean, there's been talk for years.
Still talk about it, and that didn't seem to be a part of this at all. I kind of wonder how much you keep adding to something, because you built those express lanes along 75, and guess what? Traffic went up by 33,000 over those 8 years, traffic per day.
Doug, we'll be flying cars by then. But that's what they were saying back in 2000.
That's what and the Jetsons, for that matter, yes.
Man, I hope you have a good weekend.
Hey, same to you. Enjoy. Is it Chattanooga this weekend?
Yeah, going up there for a few days. Thank you so much, Doug. Always great having you on the program, sir.
Pleasure is mine, sir. Absolutely.
All right. Hey, we got some more coming your way here in just a couple minutes. Great to be with you here on 11Alive Plus. We are back with some news we are just getting in about this police-involved shooting that happened yesterday in Chamblee. It happened, it really started, it unfolded at a Walmart there. You probably know it's the only one there, Chamblee Tucker Road. And according to officers, a man was caught shoplifting. And when he was approached by police, he ran away, ran across the street. And according to this information that we're just getting from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the man who was shot and killed by police in this case is Travis DeMonte Harris, a 29-year-old man. They say he was armed with a gun, and he shot once during a fight, but the round did not hit any officers. And as he was fleeing to that apartment complex across the street where he was shot and killed, according to the GBI, officers made contact again with Harris in the parking lot, told him to drop his gun, but he did not comply. And according to the GBI, walked toward one of the officers with the gun still in hand. That's when an officer fired multiple rounds, hitting and killing Travis DeMonte Harris, the 29-year-old. You're looking at some video there out of Chamblee last night. So now this case is going to eventually go to the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office for review once the GBI completes its investigation, and it will be up to the district attorney to decide whether this was a justified shooting. You know what? The GBI stays busy when it comes to investigating officer-involved shootings. Just for some context for you here, this was the second one yesterday. There was also that one that happened yesterday in Atlanta at a warming center that we brought you as breaking news right here on the air at 10 a.m. yesterday morning on 11Alive Plus. The GBI investigating more than one officer-involved shooting a week on average in the entire state. So far, there's been 4 investigations this year. There were 83 last year, which is actually the fewest they've had in about a decade, according to the numbers that I reviewed this morning from the GBI. So they stay busy with this, but it is something they are adept at, as they do it quite often. So more to come on that Chamblee shooting. In fact, we're going to have more on that in just a couple minutes right here on 11Alive Plus. You can keep it with us here. We're going to have the latest details on that, plus the new information we're getting on the shooting at that Atlanta warming center, that police-involved shooting. Plus, we told you about it all morning long here on 11Alive Plus. There was a missing 11-year-old girl out of Cobb County. Well, guess what? She has since been found. She is reunited with her parents, and there was a heartwarming picture of her hugging her mom and dad. You're going to see that and get some details on her recovery coming up in just about 90 seconds. Also, did you hear about the Kennesaw State basketball player who's been caught up in a gambling ring? An alleged gambling ring, I should say. Federal prosecutors now coming down hard on that student athlete and plenty more. So what's going on here? Plus, Chesley's in talking about the potential for winter weather, although it may be to the south of us. You're going to want to see the latest models on that coming up right here at 11 Alive at midday. Keep it here on 11 Alive Plus. I just want to say it is great to be with you here at 10 a.m. this morning. When I see you back here on Monday, we'll be here at 9 a.m. with you from our 11 Alive streaming center, bringing you some live interviews, some context to some of the day's biggest headlines, and always, of course, a check of weather, and we talk about sports when there's plenty to talk about, and there has been this week. Reams, Gabby, you two have